Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Passive Investing Show. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗽𝗶 Benesocky, and I'm joined by my co-host, 𝗖𝗍𝗶 Biniaz. We have another great show for you today. Please like and subscribe as it helps us build our channel and allows us to keep bringing you great content and expert guest speakers. Now, our mission is to empower investors to earn passive income through real estate investing. Now, today we're really excited. We're joined by Edna Keep, and a little bit about Edna. Edna Keep's journey from single mom at the age of 16 to multi-millionaire real estate entrepreneur and coach inspires others. Okay, her major operations are long-term buy and hold rental apartment buildings. Her claim to fame is a $65 million real estate portfolio built with other people's money. OPM is what we call it. A proponent of education and inspiration, Edna offers live training with her free real estate coaching Fridays and Mindset Monday live events on Facebook each week. So August and I believe this interview with Edna will bring great value to active investors looking to raise more capital and also passive investors who are looking to earn passive income through smart real estate investments. So thank you so much for being on a show today, Edna.
Welcome, Edna.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. We're really excited. Edna, if you could just start off, please, by telling us a bit about your background and your start in real estate.
Sure. So I got my start in real estate. I was actually a financial advisor at the time. And I had a couple clients that were coming in and wanting to take money out of their mutual funds to invest in real estate. And I was trying to tell them it wasn't a good idea. Why would you put your money in an asset class that pays you 3% a year? I did not understand real estate. So one of my clients who owned 50 doors said to me, Edna, you really ought to check it out as a second income source for yourself. And so I thought, well, you know what, maybe I will. And then, just as the universe works, shortly after that, we got invited to an evening event. I think it was one of Robert Kiyosaki's groups. It wasn't him himself. And they came into our city and we were invited to this 3-hour event. And at the event, it piqued our interest. We signed up for the 3-day weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, we signed up for their year-long course, which was where we really got our start. Within 18 months, we had 50 doors, over $5,000 a month in cash flow, net worth increase of about 800,000. And we went, we have something here. I sold my financial planning practice and the rest is history.
Oh, that's incredible. Amazing. You've really seen what real estate, the value it can bring to your life.
Exactly.
And went full force. That's really incredible.
Amazing. I'll ask this question if I may. Edna, you talked about your background as a financial advisor. In some research that I did, I noticed that was your background prior to where you are today. So in private equity, real estate private equity, especially private capital, is incredibly important component in the investing world, this idea of, dealing with investors and what have you. So tell us about your background in financial advising and how was that helpful or instrumental in your business as as a multifamily investor or where you are today?
Well, I think the biggest thing was that I was comfortable talking about money. I'd been used to talking about money for 15 years, helping people make their money decisions and stuff like that. So it was never an issue for me to ask the questions like, what's your net worth? How much money do you have to invest? All that. And I think that that's a stretch for most people when they're first starting out, getting to that point where they're comfortable, because a lot of people, they think like talking about money and sex is taboo. Like it doesn't matter. You can talk about killing and all this other stuff and watch killing shows every day. And it's like, oh, that's normal, but it's not normal to talk about money or sex. Like there's something wrong with it, right? And that's, I think, was one of my strengths is I just found it easy. I also knew what investors were looking for when it came to their money. And a lot of people think, what's these sky high returns? And it's not. It's their return of principal, and that their principal is going to be safe. And a lot of people don't understand that part either.
Got it.
Capital preservation.
Yes, definitely.
And you know what? Maybe Edna, you can talk to us about your start, your real estate journey, if you will. Did you start from a single family like most, or was it a different road for you?
No, we started with single family. You know what I find, that most of the trainers out there train on single family. Even now, like 95% of the trainers out there are multifamily. So that's where we started. Our very first purchase was actually a condo unit. So it had been converted from an apartment building into condos to sell. And that was just indicative of what was happening in our market at that time. Very, very low vacancy, needed places for people to live. We had a bunch of new people moving into our area. And so our first two purchases actually were side-by-side condos. They were garden-style condos with their own entrance. And we still own those to this day. But that's where we got started. We bought a few properties. Our first no money down deal was the next deal. The first two, we used equity out of our home because all our money was in the stock market. Stock market was down at the time.
And this is all after that event that you spoke about, that you guys went to, the 𝗖𝗽 𝗖𝗽. This is all
the 3-day event. Yeah. Yeah, after the 3-day event. That was in June. We bought our first property in September. And those two condos, like I said, we still own them today. But that within a short period of time, we ran out of our own ability to get mortgages. So then we started bringing in joint venture partners on single family homes. And how I got into multifamily is I was actually sitting with a realtor one day saying, you know, our goal is to buy 20 houses this year. He said, Edna, why don't you just buy a multifamily? And I went, well, I can't. I don't own enough houses, you know, like I think maybe played Monopoly too many times when I was a kid. And I just thought I had to own all these hotels before I could buy, or houses before I could buy a hotel. And he said, no, you can. And I said, okay, tell me more. So before I left his office that day, I had made an offer on a 24-unit apartment building. And a couple of days later, we had it under contract.
That's
amazing.
incredible. And what a lot of people don't know is it actually can be easier to get a loan on a multifamily than it is to scale on the single family side.
Oh,
So a lot of
yes.
people don't know
Especially
that.
the scale. Yeah, yeah.
So you learned that by
Definitely.
doing it hands-on.
Yeah. And was your first multifamily purchase, was that in your market, or did you invest?
Yes. Yeah, it was right in our city in Regina, Saskatchewan. And it was, we actually condo converted that building again on the advice of the realtor. And he said, this is what him and some of his friends were doing with the buildings they bought because there was a real demand for housing. And so we condo converted our first building. We paid about $75,000 a door. And we were selling them out between 120 and 140, 42.5, I think was the highest for condo converted projects.
Amazing. It's a superstar investment there.
Yeah.
Now, this is when you talk about condo conversion, for our viewers who don't might not understand that concept, is an apartment building being turned into individual condos and sold individually, correct?
Yes, correct.
That is a very common thing, and it happened a lot here in Vancouver as well. A lot of apartment buildings were converted to condos and sold off, but that also added to the low amount of available product on the market as well. So that's an issue that we have here. That's why it's so difficult to get rental here in Vancouver.
Now, Edna, I'm curious. You were talking about using other people's money to kind of scale yourself. What are you doing today? Are you still using other people's money to buy multifamily, or are you coaching?
Yes. Yeah, well, both. Our last purchase was in March of this year, March of 2021, and we bought 178 units in Memphis, Tennessee, all paid with investor cash.
In the US. So was that your first property in the US?
Second, we had bought 82 units the spring before.
Okay, fantastic.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Growing that portfolio.
Yeah.
And
really
so since the property is in the US, our group here at CPI Capital, we partner with Canadian investors to purchase US multifamily, so similar space. But now, were your investors Canadian investors?
Most of them were, yeah.
And quite possibly these were for people who are watching who are looking to scale their business in real estate as active investors. Were these some of the same investors who've invested with you previously and were part of your?
No, these ones were all new. We moved into building or buying larger properties outside of the country. So we only deal with accredited investors right now. And before that, we were in the friends, family, and business associates space, or the exemption where you had a minimum of $150,000 to invest.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
Just quickly to say to some viewers who are not sure, so there are exemptions where you could use to raise capital throughout Canada. One of those exemptions is minimum $150,000
Yeah.
exemption. As long as somebody invests 150K, they can invest with you in your venture. The other exemption is family and friends,
Yes.
which is capped off as 50, a number of 50 people that you can have for family and friends and business associates and directors of the company. And the other exemption, the one that you're currently using, is the accredited investor. And as a result, you had to reach out to a new a database or new group of investors to participate with your US investments. Great.
That's really
Awesome.
exciting. That's really exciting.
All right, so let's
we
get
love
into
the US. That's for sure.
for sure, yeah. Obviously, because of the returns, because of the high rent to value ratio, the higher yields that exist in the US, groups like us, we could buy a building at a 70-30 LTV and still have, after paying a mortgage payment, still have enough
surplus left over to give your investors that beautiful cash flow and appreciation.
Great.
So you know what, I really want to touch, I really want to highlight that you're a coach, you're a speaker. Maybe you can tell us about your interest in coaching and your program, 90 Days to 5K Mastermind.
Sure. Well, you know what? It kind of came about organically. It was never my initial intention. But people kept asking me, Edna, how'd you grow so fast? Like, how did you get 50 doors in 18 months? And we would go back to the conventions with the same people that we'd take the training with, and we'd find them stuck at 4 doors. Like 4 doors seemed to be over and over the what we heard. And what we found out is that most people were stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, and they were managing their own properties, doing the repairs and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And so we realized that we had a different system that a lot of people, again, were not aware of, and how to do that. One being other people's money, the other being going into multifamily instead of single. Definitely build up your power team wherever you're investing, because you can't do it all by yourself. And the other thing that we did that some of the other ones in the training didn't do was, when we bought the package that we bought, like the education package, we got a mentor with it. And that was another huge part for us, because at the beginning, we were scared of everything, tenants, toilets, like it all just kind of terrified us. And just having someone that could walk us through and talk us through some of the challenges that would come up made all the difference in the world. And then the other thing that we did is we really stayed around like-minded people, because again, if you're around people who are saying, you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't. And if you're on people that go, been there, done that, yes, you can, yes, you can, yes, you can, you can. And that was the other thing. And that's why I actually made the mastermind, because not only do they need people like me who can show them the ins and outs, but they need to be around a group of like-minded people who are all taking action and making it happen. Not a bunch of people are going, well, I know what I'm doing, but I'm not doing it. You know, I think that is a really big key factor that helped in our moving forward so quickly. And what I see with my students nowadays too.
That's incredible. Yeah, you do have to surround yourself with like-minded people, build yourself up, and it's also a team sport, multifamily, as you were kind of saying, right? Don't take it all don't take everything on your shoulders when you can really grow and scale like you guys did, just by accepting to delegate the things that you're not so good at and focus on your craft. So that's really great.
And I'm just visioning somebody signing up to Edna's course because of her background, especially in financial advising, knowing the products that exist for people who want to invest. The funds and the REITs and the the RRSPs and other types of investments that exist for everyday people, that now bringing this real estate private equity or this syndicated investments is incredible to have that. And then also not only her background in financial advising, but then start in real estate, going from single family to multifamily, and multifamily in Canada and the US. So it's like the perfect kind of trajectory. So that would be great. Yeah. So
it's this pathway for people to come, and it's not a scary path anymore when they have somebody that's right there beside them who's been there, done that. And the best part is hey, if I can do it, you can too. So that's really inspiring for people. So
that's what we felt too, because we're not rocket scientists or surgeons. We don't, the brain power is like all learnable skills.
It's these fears that people have in their mind, and it creates a barrier for them. So when when your coaching program is a perfect way for people to, get that barrier out of the way and start feeling that success in their hands.
Yeah. And I focus a lot on mindset as well, because I always think, whenever you're going through this, then things and found it in our own lives as well. Every time you're setting yourself a new, larger goal, new level, new devil, you have to think differently. You have to become a different person. It's really hard to be the, janitor type guy your whole life. You got to grow into be a CEO of a business. And there's steps that need to happen. You can't stay, we like to think, well, we like ourselves the way we are. I want to be the same old person. You can't be the same person and build a big empire like that.
Well said.
A couple other items I want to touch on.
For sure.
And the other one is, obviously, we have our woman CEO here. You are a woman CEO and a thought leader in the space. Talk to us about challenges or other comments you have as being a woman in a mostly male-dominated industry. If you had any experiences, or how is that for you?
I have a lot of experience with that. First of all, I come from a family of 8 and I have 6 brothers.
Wow. Oh, wow. So you had to...
Yeah. And then when I was in an office administration, and I worked with there was 100 guys in the company, me and one other girl in the office. Then I moved into financial services, very male dominated industry. In our office, there was 1 or 2 women and the rest were guys. And then moving into the real estate world, it's still that way. It's still very much male dominated, but I don't feel out of my element. Might stem back right to the fact that I was brought up with 6 brothers and I guess I have the masculine energy in a lot of cases too. So I can keep up with them and definitely teach too, and relate well both to men and women, I think. But I think that might have been my start, having 6 brothers.
Well, you know what you're talking about. So you show up with confidence, right? No matter.
And they don't intimidate me in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I notice that I have to teach some of my women to stand up for themselves. Like when some people are telling them stuff, like just recently, referred a couple ladies to a realtor and to tell them to write this offer. And he starts telling them, well, I think we should do this, and I think we should do that, and I think we should wait, and I think you should look at the building. And they phoned me back and they said, well, he kind of took the wind out of our sails. And I said, phone him back and tell him, I have a coach and a mentor. I want to write the offer now. And she said, okay, we're writing it. But you know what? Sometimes you got to be that person, because it's not all about taking care of the little ladies, right? Like, I know what I'm talking about. Just do what I tell you to do.
I love that. Yeah, and her energy just, yes. it shines off of you.
For sure.
Some people don't like that. I've made a few.
Be who you are. Be who you are.
I don't care.
Coming from a guy, yes. Strength and confidence in women is actually sexy. So just wanted to put that out there.
100%.
So yeah, as a strong, confident person can say that. Not everybody has your confidence either. And that's why I think where the trouble happens, if they don't have the confidence, then all of a sudden you're pushy and whatever. But yeah, you got to have the confidence to enjoy it, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. So one last item I want to touch on before we get to the next segment of the show is so we help a lot of busy professionals, people who are focused on their craft. They're great at what they do. You spoke about surgeons. We have a couple of surgeons who've partnered with us in our investments. The doctors seem to be a common investor profile. Other busy professionals, accountants, lawyers, engineers, business owners. So these people are, again, very much focused on their craft, and they rather invest in real estate passively. If you could give a message out to a busy professional watching this show and they wanted to invest in real estate, but they wanted to do it passively, since you've had such an incredible background and track record, where should they start? What would be your advice to someone looking to passively invest in real estate, but they're focused in what they do?
Well, I would say that, get a referral from somebody. That's usually how we found our business. People would tell their friends about what we were able to do, and then we would meet with them. That's the best way. You do have to educate yourself a little bit on what you're getting into, because there's a lot of stuff out there that people shouldn't be involved in. And, I don't buy anything in the cryptocurrency world because I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And it's like, yeah, maybe someday, maybe my kids will. I don't get it. Staying away from there. So So you have to educate yourself a bit. And go with the people who've got the track records too. You know, not to say that you discount brand new people altogether. You have to stay diversified, and you still have to stay on top of it. One thing I find sometimes with really busy professionals, they've got their lane of expertise and they just want somebody to look after them. And that's wonderful and great until if something goes wrong, then it's like, oh my God, but sometimes things go wrong and they need to know that that can happen. So educating on the risks definitely is a big part of it as well. But yeah, referral is our number one best way. We still find most of our team members wherever we go from referrals.
Great advice.
Great advice.
Great advice.
That's great advice.
One last item that I forgot to mention before we get to this.
Of course. Edna hosts, you also host a YouTube show called Edna Keep Real Estate Investment Coach. We've actually been guests on her show, which is fantastic. We had a lot of fun. Maybe you could tell us how that idea came about.
Any of your experiences that you've had on the show and anything that comes to mind, just tell us about it.
Well, you know, I started on YouTube because we started doing, we met through a company and they wanted us to do YouTube ads. And of course, you got to set up everything on YouTube to be able to make that happen. So that was kind of how it started. So I find that YouTube ads work really well for me, especially compared to Facebook ads, which we'd spent a lot of money on in the past. And, you know, it really educates people out there to show them what's possible in real estate. Like so many people don't even know what's possible. And that's the part that I like about it. It's such a good medium. People feel like they know you because they get to see your face. And, you know, in some cases, I feel like, you know, celebrities, sometimes when they go places, people go, oh, there's Edna Keep, there's Edna Keep, you know?
We feel that way first time we talked to you. Because I continuously saw your videos as
I seen you on YouTube. Your ads would actually pop up. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, this lady is awesome.
Well, she was also speaking our language in the ad as well. So that was a...
Yes, yeah. And I get that from people who book calls with me. It's like, you spoke to me. And I, you know, that is such a big thing too. And, you know, we have a personal experience with that. We have a famous comedian in Saskatchewan called 𝗖𝗽𝗶𝘁. And Warren and I, my husband and I, were at a restaurant one night and these two walk in and we kind of wave at them. Like, we know them, right? We kind of wave and they looked at us like, and then just sat down. And I said to Warren, we know them, right? And he said, looks and he says, yeah, we know them. And then I realized here we knew them because we watched them on TV all the time. They didn't have a clue who the hell we were, but it was so funny because I get that now. Sometimes people are going like, and yeah, we met. And I'm going, oh, we met. And then you realize after that, they not in real life, but it feels like it.
Yes, that's really cool. I love that.
Awesome. That's a good transition into our next segment of our show.
10 championship rounds to financial freedom.
Awesome.
Here we go, Ed, and I'm going to start off with the first question. Whatever comes top of mind, that's perfect.
Okay.
Here we go. Who was the most influential person in your life?
I would have to say my older brother. My brother, just older than me, was very influential. He was the first person that believed in me and anything that I did. Still get emotional over that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But
we're gonna send him a copy.
As a 16-year-old mother who everybody thought that I ruined my life. Sorry.
It's okay.
It made a difference to have somebody who could say, no, this does not have to define you and believe in you, sort of thing.
You're making us tear up too a little bit.
Yeah, geez. That's beautiful.
Yep.
It's very beautiful.
All right. It's the first time I cried on our show, I guess.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Go to the next.
That. I usually don't. I'm usually.
And we're not going to cut this out. We're not going to edit this out. All right, great.
The real authentic self. What is the number one book you'd recommend?
My favorite book of all time was Robert Kiyosaki's book called "Why Do A Students Work for C Students and C Students Work for, or B Students Work for the Government?" And the reason why I like it is because I'm a C student, but it really made me realize the strengths a C student can have that A and B just didn't have. And that part of that's being the visionary without feeling the need to be perfect at everything. And it took me reading that book to really realize that I have strengths that were never recognized in high school. Like, you know, the ability to be social, talk to anybody, put myself out there, you know, that was never celebrated in high school. It was like, you're not very academic, you're not very good at sports, like the two things that people excel at in school. And that really awakened my a new level of confidence in myself. Was, hey, so that's good. That's good.
I love that you just shared that, because
Yes.
that's really special. That's really special. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Now, if you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I think just believe in yourself, because that book, like I read that, probably in my 30s, after I'd been introduced to Robert Kiyosaki and all that kind of stuff, and never realized what my strengths were as a younger person. Like, I always been kind of made to feel like, well, you're not an A student, different stuff like that. So that I think is a big thing.
Incredible. What's the best investment you've ever made?
We own 144 units in northern Saskatchewan, small town, 3,000 people. And we still own that to this day. We bought it in 2012, and that's one of our best performing assets out there so far.
That's really exciting. Just really quickly, my family actually owns a farm in Yorkton.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that's really great.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the worst investment you've ever made?
Well, my wheelhouse has kind of always been raising capital and staying out of the management side of things. And I realized that early on. But at one point, I was raising a lot of capital, taking a lower ownership position so that I could have a managing partner. And at one point I went, well, I should just hire staff instead of having a managing partner who gets like a big percentage of the deal. And that was the biggest mistake we made. We ended up buying 3 buildings in that capacity. And of course, it takes you a while to, get everything under, optimized and stuff like that, which I enjoy that part of it. But the long-term holding where I'm the managing partner, I hated it. And it took us 5 years to get out of it. You know what I mean? So getting out of my wheelhouse was the biggest mistake that we made. Being, instead of appreciating where we were and what we had, and we've went back to that model again, and it's what allows us to scale. We grew very stagnant for a long time because we were dealing with that kind of stuff, and an area we did not like to do too.
You learn along the way, right?
Yeah.
How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
You know what? I'm never going to retire, so I never think about that. You know what? Bob Proctor, so he teaches a lot on mindset. I follow him a lot. He is 87 years old, and he has more energy than most 30-year-olds. He's on stage, he's on YouTube, he's everywhere. That's going to be me. I'm never retiring.
Love it.
You know what? We had enough to retire on our first 5 years in the business, but that wasn't where we wanted to be. That wasn't where we wanted to stay. And I still have lots of big goals. So
amazing. If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Richard Branson. I love that guy.
That's not the first time somebody said that. If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
We had the pleasure of bringing on a foster child last year, and because her mom died. And if I wasn't doing what I do now, I'd probably have like a dozen of those running around.
Very beautiful. Book smarts or street smarts?
Definitely street smarts.
Last question. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
I have 2 daughters, age 19 and 17, and I would invest 100% in them.
Amazing.
Nice.
That's a wrap, Edna.
That's a wrap. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and emotions with us. I really appreciate that. Maybe you can.
You know what? Please just let everybody know that's listening. What's the best way that they can reach you?
The best way is to just find me through my website, which is 𝗖𝗼𝗜 I'm all over social media. You Google my name, Edna Keep, you'll find me. And my email address is also edna@𝗖𝗼𝗜. So very easy to find me.
And you might just be watching YouTube and she'll pop up on your screen.
Pop up too, exactly. And then there's a way to find me through that channel too.
We really appreciate you coming on here today. And thank you so much, Edna.
Thank you so much for having me.